So today what we're looking at is menopause, men, and the reactions that we didn't expect. And, we're so privileged to have the Lansdowne Club that are supporting us, who are leading the way in this subject. So, Julia, what kind of reactions have you had?
So my reactions have been very positive. I'm very fortunate that I am the only female on the senior management team.
Right. Gosh.
So I sit with 7 other men on the team.
Wow.
And they're all really, really supportive of this podcast, and also keen to talk about the menopause and learn about the menopause as well.
That's amazing.
So we have different age groups where some of my male colleagues, their wives have been through the menopause, so they've been on that journey with their wives and are keen to talk about that. And then some younger members within the team who are very keen to learn more about it, so that they can support their female colleagues. So my the reactions that I've received have been very, very positive.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. And also I'm very, very lucky that I've also got a very supportive partner outside of work who is inquisitive and wants to talk. He leads quite a female-dominated team as well. Yeah. So, he wants to understand more so that he can support his team better as well and understand what he needs to be doing. That's great.
So he's got his personal take on it with you, but he's also taking that knowledge and bringing it into his workplace.
Yeah,
so it's perfect, isn't it? That kind of awareness to spread the word.
And that word awareness is the big thing, isn't it? If you're aware, then you're almost informed, aren't you, to know how to react, rather than like, what on earth is going on, or run a mile sort of thing.
Yeah, because what you've just described at the Lansdowne Club and at home is sort of the curious and supportive kind of category. And that's one category. And to be honest, I think we've all found there's more of that about than maybe we thought.
Yeah.
But there's also beneath that, there's a layer that is, it's not bad, but it's kind of like silent or awkward, not really knowing what to say and avoiding the subject just because of, no badness, no malice, just a lack of awareness, a lack of understanding, a fear of getting it wrong.
Yeah.
So just, we don't talk about menopause. It's a bit of sort of circa 1960s. We don't talk about menopause.
Yeah.
So that's a layer that I see a lot of. So and very much so when I'm if I'm training in corporate, that's how many men start. Kind of, I don't really know why I'm here, and it's all a bit awkward, isn't it? But once we start communicating, they very quickly move into the curious and supportive group. Because they get it and it's okay. They realise that it is okay to talk about it, that it is okay to broach it, that you don't need loads of knowledge. You're not supposed to fix it. You just need to be aware and put some accommodations in place. So that's a kind of second tier, isn't it?
That sounds to me as if we want them to listen and be patient, basically. Yeah. That's like if we could have our wish for men in our lives. So that would be really helpful. Whereas I was at an event just last night, and I was talking to this guy who was asking me what I'm doing tomorrow. I thought, you might regret asking me what I'm doing tomorrow. And I almost could feel him squirming, just like, it's almost like I'd said something really personal.
Embarrassing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't talk about that. And I just think for me, that's my big driver for being here is that educational, that awareness thing that, it's happening to everyone. So let's just, make it a norm. Well, it is a norm at the end of the day, but a norm that we talk about that that we can, do something with it rather than just not.
So your gentleman last night might have been unaware, but at least he was respectful about it. There is a third category, which I think if we go back generation may have been more prominent than it is now, but they kind of like the humour, the minimising, the kind of more disrespectful, like what's this all about? You know, oh, it's the menopause. You know, oh, she's going through the menopause because whatever's happened.
Yeah.
You know, and that is another category of reaction that you can have to menopause. For our viewers to be aware of, our listeners to be aware of, that, you know, these are things that you might come across. But there are ways of dealing with them all that usually comes back to education.
Yeah, absolutely.
And awareness.
Yeah, and the humour side of things, it's typical hormone imbalance, isn't it? It's either we can laugh at ourselves, or actually, you know, we could be
really cool.
Really like dragon-like with regards to our reactions.
And that's the key thing for all the men out there. It's our choice how that's dealt with. It's not for a man to decide whether it's funny or not. If we find it funny that we've had a massive bleed in the office, then it is funny.
Yeah.
You know, or we've had, you know, broken down in tears in a meeting, or hot flash, or whatever it is. That's for us to decide.
Yeah,
that's funny. It's our prerogative. It's not for a man to decide that that's funny. So, you know, this one group of reaction that we want to minimise, we want to get rid of, is that dismissive humour one.
Yeah. Karen, I think you mentioned when we've been chatting about a mug that someone had at work.
I'm going back quite a long time now. But I can remember being in an office environment, and one of the sales managers had a mug on his desk that said, "Help, my wife's in menopause," or "My wife's menopausal," or something like that, which at the time, as a 35-year-old, you know, to my shame, I found quite funny. But when I look back, I think, how awful is that? And I understand there was no malice in that mug either. Yeah. It was meant as a bit of a joke, and probably his wife had bought it him, I don't know. But for somebody who was sat in the office or came into contact with that, who was going through menopause or having an episode, or something not great was happening, that's a real kick in the teeth, isn't it? That's quite disrespectful. And I would like to think that doesn't happen now. But, you know, that mug I use quite a lot when I'm talking about men and menopause, because men, that is how we don't want you to be.
Yeah.
This is not what to do.
And the thing for me is, if I was in the whole, you know, this is really horrendous what's going on, and the anxiety and all that sort of stuff, and you see that, you think it's really not funny, because when we think we're having a heart attack or something awful is happening, and people being very flippant about it, it's not funny, is it? You know, until we get our own head around it, you know.
Yeah. So. And the same at home. It's not just at work. You know, the reactions from your partner. So, not, you know, if you do have a huge mood swing or a screaming fit, or, you know, a burst into tears, it's not a what the hell is up with you, pull yourself together. It's just a little bit of understanding.
Yeah.
When you talk to the women that you meet with, what do you find is the biggest thing that comes from them saying what they need from their partners to support them?
They need understanding, first of all. They need it to be acknowledged and something that they can talk about. So talking about it means that you need some kind of education. So some basic awareness. And I don't think any of us are expecting men to understand menopause to the level that we're starting to understand it, but just know broadly why it's happening, that it is real and physiological. It's not in your mind and you're going mad. And then understanding some of the symptoms at play, so that you can relate to them and offer empathy and walk out of the room if necessary. Cook a meal, give a glass of water, and educate the rest of the family as well, perhaps. So it's understanding and empathy, very broadly.
And then likewise with the men that you talk to through the training sessions that you deliver, what do you find comes out from the males that are attending those sessions in what they feel that they need to be able to have those conversations?
I think, and we cover this directly in the training, they need to understand that it's okay to talk about it. And this, normally comes from the top with menopause policies and stuff like that, but it's important to understand that it's okay to have a broad understanding of how that might be impacting those people in the workplace. And then, you're not meant to fix it. Being an open door, having the right resources available within the company, having a kind of a shooting point of contact, so that there's somewhere that people can go, and just an awareness across the company. So it doesn't need to be talked about every single day. There doesn't need to be a meeting every single month. It's just women of a certain age, and that age is low, as we've spoken about before. It could be from 35, all the way up to 55 and 60 and beyond. Just having awareness of what might be going on in someone's life, and then putting some workplace accommodations in that make it okay, that make it easier.
Yeah, that's amazing. So with regards to just going back to the humour, why do you think men do react differently? What is it you think that's going?
There's a little bit of misogyny, and the old kind of old school, women are getting older. There is a small proportion of men who should hang their heads in shame, who are kind of like, well, you're old and you're past, especially in the workplace, quite competitive, and so there's a little bit of that, and the humour is guising some kind of dislike or poor treatment of women. However, for most men, in my experience, it's just the kind of shitting themselves. They don't know how to react. They don't really understand what's going on. They don't know if it's real or fake. And humour is their way of masking their fear and their uncertainty of how to deal with it. Most men are scared of getting it wrong. Yeah. Scared of getting it wrong at home and getting the head blasted off. Yeah. And they're scared of getting it wrong at work for fear of some kind of, comeback because of that. So, not saying anything doesn't feel right. Saying the wrong thing doesn't feel right. Saying too much doesn't feel right. So, humour in most instances is a mask for a lack of knowledge and a slight fear.
Yeah.
So, men, it's okay. You don't need to mask in humour. Just ask the question.
Yeah.
But there is an acknowledgement as well. Is it fair to say that they may also be going through some hormonal changes, a male menopause as well at the same time?
Yes. Yes. So, yeah.
Amazing.
All men listening will be glad to know that there is such a thing as the male menopause. And it's called the andropause. And, I don't think it's for today. I suspect there's another episode entirely on this, and we might need to get a man in for his perspective on that. But, as we age, our hormones fall and fluctuate, and men also have hormones that fall and fluctuate, namely testosterone. So the kind of concept of a grumpy old man, for those who are old enough, Victor Meldrew, is not a figment of complete imagination, that there is such a thing. So, mood swings, low libido, loss of confidence, hair loss, skin problems, some of the same symptoms, some are different, but it is a thing. And unfortunately, it's even less researched than menopause. We moan about there not being enough research, there not being enough awareness, there not being enough education around our menopause. Andropause has even less.
Yeah.
But it would be great for men if they could understand. I've spoken to lots of men who got that. I don't even really need to know a lot more. It's just a relief to know that is happening, and that's why sometimes I feel like I do know that lack of energy, that lack of ba-ba-boom is low testosterone. So it does happen. Be aware of it. We as women should be aware of it, and maybe a little bit more empathetic to our male counterparts.
Yeah.
But it's definitely it's a much bigger topic that maybe we'll have another pod on. But yes, if we talk about men and menopause, we do have to acknowledge the andropause and give them some brownie points for going through something as well.
Yeah, and that's interesting though, isn't it? Because if we're talking about men and women living together in that scenario, well, men and men, women and women, doesn't really matter, does it? That we're all going through this change, and if you've been with a partner for many a year, and it's not going to be the same as it was when you were in your 20s, that relationship. It's a different relationship, isn't it?
Yeah. And this is anecdotal, so it's please don't take this as science, but from people I speak to, as our hormones make our emotions go like that, male hormones, from speaking to my clients, go like that. So, if you're all bobbing along nicely for the first 20, 30 years of relationship, and suddenly he's gone like that and you've gone like that, that chasm can seem bigger than in reality it is.
Yeah.
Because you both go in slightly different ways.
Yeah. Amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. And
Poor old men, hey.
Yeah, exactly. I think women as well. But anyway, I think, Karen, you mentioned before about divorce rates that higher in later in
higher,
life.
yeah, and weirdly they are higher. The highest, the higher they peak in kind of mid-40s, and they instigated by women.
Yeah, right.
So that chasm that we've just spoken about, we're up here.
Yeah.
Kind of going, I'm not prepared to do this, and all this is happening in the world, and men go into a more of a chilled, can't be bothered, bit miserable, don't want to go out, all that kind of thing. So, we are at a different end of the scale, which maybe explains that. And I've got a couple of clients, and we've spoken about this, and we're kind of going, just stick at it. Just if you work at it, you can come back together, or you may choose that you don't want to, but just. Again, as we always say, understanding it helps you make better decisions.
Yeah.
Rather than just going, we've had it, this is enough.
Yeah,
I can't
exactly.
be doing with him sat in his pipe and slippers.
Yeah, and that is kind of, not that I've at all wanting to divorce or anything like that, but I can see that the snap.
Yeah.
It's like no more, it's got to change sort of thing,
We're going, I'm not prepared to put up with it. He's going, can't be asked.
Yeah.
So...
Oh my God.
Hormones, hey.
Yeah. So in summary then, what do we want from men? What do we want?
Well, for me, I'm quite fortunate. I'm very, very fortunate. But I think, from, my friends that I talk to, and, other colleagues who are going through this and maybe don't have the support outside, is that people will, that the men in their lives will just talk to them, will have those conversations, will have that understanding.
Yeah.
And then you bring children into it as well when you're going through it, and there's just that added complication that sometimes you need somebody to just take over the childcare for you, or just to step in and just recognise those symptoms and step in and deal with it for you. So
almost like have a break, just like let me have a minute almost, isn't it? Yeah, I like it, and I always love your story. I think the Lansdowne Club is just the epitome of what we want, really, and what you've said about the senior team, with you being the only female, being so supportive. I just think that is a flagship, isn't it? That's the model we'd like for everybody.
Yeah, and so I am truly blessed in that I have these individuals around me, and they are very, very keen to talk about their experiences.
Yeah.
As a male, supporting or having gone through it with their mums.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a story, haven't they?
Yeah.
But I think your experience is important. It highlights when you say, Sally, what do we want from men and what do men want from us, is you've always been very open about your menopause at work and at home, and therefore it's easy for men to talk about it. So, we talk a lot in this pod, don't we, about us owning our menopause and not expecting all the solutions to just land on our desk. If men don't know that, we don't know enough. Men certainly don't know this. So it is up to us to explain what's happening within the right context. So, how you do it at work and how you do it at home and how you do it, at the tennis club or wherever is different, but making people aware of what's happening and how that's affecting you, and almost guiding people on the kind of reaction that you expect, because they don't know. I don't know what you're going through.
No. Yeah.
So, how can they possibly know what? So explain to them what's happening. Explain to them what you expect and the kind of behaviours or support. And sometimes it's just saying nothing, or it's just checking in now and again. In the workplace, it might be just checking in, how you're doing, or if you are sweating profusely. Sally, have you got your fan?
Yeah, got it.
Then you tell people how you want to react to that. Is it okay to make a joke, or do you just want it to be quiet? So it's pretty much, for most men that I've come across, they will take our lead.
Yeah.
So that's how I would approach it, is you set your stall out as you want it to be.
Yeah.
And they will just plod along very happily doing what you need to do.
Yeah. it is really good, isn't it? Is because, you know, if we're not articulating it, then it is just a big like question mark hanging there in the air, isn't there? Like, what's going on, you know? And it's interesting because while Julie, you're in an organisation, you know, I'm trotting around with different clients.
Yeah.
And therefore I've got a new audience that I have to kind of explain. But I don't explain because I don't make it part of my introduction to say, hi, I'm Sally.
And I'm menopausal.
Yeah, exactly. That's not my introduction. But what I always do have is, of course, my fan. And, you know, hot flashes don't come when someone asks me a question or I'm feeling under pressure, you know, like that. People would think that's a time when you might have a hot flash, but I don't. It's just random, you know, like I'll be just talking like this and then all of a sudden I can feel it coming. So my thing is, you know, just excuse me a minute, I'm just having a power surge. So the power surge is the thing. So it's
That's a great terminology.
Yeah. So then
power surge.
And nobody seems to bother, you know. So yeah, and then, you know, if it happens, I'll just say, oh, it's just the time of my life, you know. It's not the time of the month anymore. It's the time of my life that's the
and
reason.
is that's people probably just take that on board and move on.
Yeah, exactly. And nobody's asked me. No one said, "Are you all right?" or anything like that. And that's how I want it. I just want it to be something that happens that, you know, and then we move on. You know, so it's really good. So it sounds to me that, you know, we've got more things to talk about with regards to men and their andropause.
Yes.
So what I think we need to do is just ask people or suggest that you carry on listening to the podcast because there's more coming. That's going to help us. And what we really want is understanding, basically.
And in the meantime, educate your men.
Yeah.
And, you know, men, just learn what you can and empathise and take the lead from the women in your life.
Yeah.
That would be the best thing I would say.
Yeah.
But nice, short, snappy episode, I think but I feel we needed to cover this.
Yes.
It was such an important, it comes up so much and we have so many men in our lives and the 50% of the population and they're affected too. So I think it's a conversation that we have a lot and need to be had on the pod.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most women are in the dark about it. So most men are definitely going to be in the dark about it, aren't they?
Correct.
So actually, and I love what you say, Karen, about if we start articulating our symptoms or what's going on, then they can then at least give the put my teeth in. At least we're giving them a chance to respond appropriately. So
and most of them do.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Great session.
Episode.
Great to see you.
I love that.
Yeah, super.